Thank you so much for joining us today in Mathcon universe and the wonderful world of mathematics. Our focus today will be on strategic problem solving in key concept of radical algebraic equation. Again, our focus will be on what? Strategic problem solving in key concept of radical algebraic equation. So how do we approach a problem like this? How do we approach this problem? Strategies. Step number one. What's our goal for step number one? Our goal for step number one, of course, is to move the expression involving the radical to the right side of the equation and move the expression involving the number 4 rather, to the left side of the equation. Again, we want to move the expression involving the radical to the right side of the equation and move the number 4 to the left side of the equation. So let us take note of that. Move the radical expression to the right side. Of the equation. And right side of the equation and move the number 4 to the left side. To the left side. So let us execute this at this point. So notice now we are going to move the radical expression to the right side of the equation. So we're going to obtain negative square root of x minus 4, and then we're going to move the 4 to the left side of the equation and obtain a negative 4. So therefore we must now tackle the problem x minus 4 equals negative square root of x minus 4 at this particular point. So what will be our next step in this problem solving process known as strategic problem solving process? What will be our next step? And what will be the goal for our next step? The goal for our next step is to try to get rid of this radical symbol so that we can free the x minus 4 from the entrapment of the radical symbol, the so-called square root symbol. So how do we do this? What must we do? What will be our strategy? So that brings us to strategy number 2. Step number 2. Step number 2. So that brings us to step number 2. Square both sides. Square the entities on the left side of the equation and the entity on the right side of the equation. I repeat, square the entity on the left side of the equation, namely what? X minus 4. So we're going to take this entity here on the left side of the equation, which is x minus 4, and square it. So we're going to do x minus 4 square and the entity on the right side of the equation, which is what? The negative of square root of x minus 4. So we're going to square this. Okay. So we are going to go now to simplify the expression on each side of the equation. So our next goal will be to simplify the left side of the expression and the right side of the expression. But before we do that, we are going to do something else. We are going to take a look at the law of radical. Law of radical says that if you have the square root of a times the square root of a, this will be a. Since in this case we have a square root. So if you take a square root of a and multiply by square root of a, you must get a. And also notice that if you also have the square root of a squared, this is the same thing, of course, as a. Okay? So in other words, this here is the same thing as this, and you still get a. So let's use this result in simplifying the expression on the right side of this equation. So if we do so, we are going to obtain what? We are going to obtain negative square root of x minus 4 times negative of square root of x minus 4. In this case, our a in this problem is x minus 4. So therefore, we are going to obtain what? X minus 4. Since negative times negative is positive. So we now have on our right side of this equation x minus 4. On the left side, what do we do with the left side? Well, left side, note that if we have x minus 4 all squared, this is the same thing as what? X minus 4 times x minus 4. And using the so-called FOIL method, that will be what? X times x, which will be x squared. And x times negative 4, that will be negative 4x. And negative 4 times x, of course, that will be negative 4x. And what about negative 4 times negative 4? That will be what? Positive 16. That will be positive 16. That will be positive 16. So what do we do on the left side of the equation? We must combine what? Like terms first. Let's combine like terms. So when we do so, we are going to have what? X squared minus 8x plus 16 equals x minus 4 equals x minus 4. So what will be our next step in this problem solving process known as strategic problem solving? What will be our next step? Let us see. What will be our next step? We have x squared minus 8x again plus 16 equals x minus 4. What will be our next step? So what we want to do now is first to what? To subtract x from both sides of the equation. So just take away x here and take away x. We want to subtract x from both sides of the equation so that we can now begin to develop the problem appropriately. So what will be negative 8x minus x? That will be, of course, negative 9x. So this means we have x squared minus 9x plus 16 equals negative 4. So what will be our next step? Our next step, of course, will be to what? Now add 4 to both sides of the equation. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. So that means that we now are going to have x squared minus 9x plus 20 equals to 0. X squared minus 9x plus 20 equals 0. This is what we call a quadratic equation. So how do we solve this quadratic equation? How do we solve it? Well, that would lead us now to what? That would lead us to what? Yes, that will lead us to what? To connecting this problem to a model known as quadratic equation model. This is a model. known as what? Quadratic equation model. Notice that if we must solve this problem, we must have to consider this model. In our problem, notice that the A here is what? If we connect this problem to this model, our A here is 1. Okay, if we want to use capital A, that is fine. Our A here is 1 in this problem. Our B is what? -9. Our C is what? 20. So since our A is 1, in this problem, in our problem here, we are going to do something very important. Since our A is 1, so we're going to do something very important. We are going to find two numbers in this quadratic equation such that if we multiply the two numbers, we must get 20. And if we again now add the same two numbers, we must obtain a -9. Since our B is -9. What are the two numbers? What are the two numbers? Well, I think the two numbers will be what? -4 and -5. Why? Because -4 times -5 is 20. And of course, -4 plus -5 is -9. So these are the two numbers we want in order to be able to solve this problem successfully. So that means now we're going to have x minus 4 times x minus 5 equal to 0. I repeat, we now have x minus 4 times x minus 5 equal to 0. So what must we do next? What will be our next step? In order to finish this problem successfully, we must use a principle in algebra known as a principle of zero product. Okay? So we're going to use the principle of zero product. That will bring us to what? To a critical stage in this problem solving process. To use what? The principle of zero product. What does it say? It says that if A times B equal to 0, then A equal to 0 or B equal to 0. I repeat, if A times B equal to 0, then A equal to 0 or B equal to 0. According to what? The principle of zero product. In our problem, our A is x minus 4, our B is x minus 5. So therefore, right, x minus 4 equal to 0 or x minus 5 equal to 0. So this implies that what? X minus 4 equal to 0. So what will x be? What does this imply? It means that x equals to number 4, or in this case, of course, where x minus 5 equals to 0, it means that what? X must equal to 5. So our solution, therefore, for this radical algebraic equation is x equals to 4 or x equals to 5. And I hope that you have been able to learn some valuable lessons about how to solve radical algebraic equation using the strategic problem solving approach. I would like to encourage you to continue to solve this type of problem more and more. And as you do so, you will be developing a strong knowledge base in algebra. And also continue to develop your what? Your problem solving confidence. Thank you so much again for joining us. Until next time.